Hi, everybody. I'm Zilla Blitz, and welcome. Today, I'm extraordinarily excited to introduce to us Matthias Cramer, who is the designer of Lenin's Legacy, a new and upcoming game from GMT Games about Stalin versus Trotsky. And I'll stop there, and I'll introduce you, Matthias. Thank you so much for joining today. Could
Yeah,
you
thanks for having
talk
me
to
in.
us? Yes, likewise. Yes. Could you talk to us about Lenin's Legacy? Just tell us about the game a little bit.
Yeah, so Lenin's Legacy is a short card-driven game about the period where Lenin's health is decreasing drastically, and where Stalin and Trotsky start to fight for power. And this game is covering a few years until Lenin's death. So at this stage, at least the game will end, but it can also end before because this game has two sudden death conditions.
Great. And it's set, so this would be the early 1930s, 1920s?
It's run about 21 until 24. So these 3 years, which are the period where so it's the last fightings of the Russian Civil War, and then going over to this afterwar period.
Fantastic. Great. And this is at heart, it's a two-player game. We'll talk about the solo mode, the new edition solo mode later, but it's a two-player game, and it's a very much a card-driven game. Could you talk a little bit about the gameplay that people are going to experience?
Yeah, it has some specialties which are quite unusual compared to other card-driven games. So this is a card drafting game. So that means the cards that you can play, you don't have a hand, but the cards are on the table. So there are 7 cards, and 5 of these cards are face up, and 2 are face down. And so, for example, as Trotsky, you can see one of these cards, but the other card is completely unknown to you. But you might play it. So you're allowed to play it, but it's a black box for you.
Right. And I had a chance to experience a prototype of the
Yeah.
game at the Circle DC conference in the beginning of April, and I can tell you those decisions about what card to play and the mystery of not knowing the other card and that what card do you put down. It was a lot of thinking, that there's a lot of subtleties of play in there that I really enjoyed too. So
It
great, thank you
happens
very much.
quite often that people are playing the unknown card just to remove a potential threat that they might face just because they don't know the card. Yeah.
Right. There's very much a defensive thinking and an offensive thinking to it as well, and trying to balance out those things. There's also a number of values that you're working with in the game too, right? So there's different ways you're scoring points. Could you talk a little bit about those?
Yeah, so the game has issues like in Watergate, for example, or in Churchill. So these are the classical issues that you're trying to manipulate with the cards, with the value of the cards. But the game has also it's called powers. So it's for example you are trying to control the army, because if you control the army, it allows you to achieve medals, which is a sudden death condition. But it's also about the control of the party. So if you control the party at a certain level, then you also win immediately the game. And the third one is fame. So what you will be known in the history books, and this is only applicable if Lenin dies, actually.
Right. And I know, and I was playing the game. I know one of the things I noticed is that you're constantly trying to figure out which one of those issues is the most important one you want to push for, and which one your opponent is pushing for. So there was a lot of back and forth, kind of like a tug of war type of feeling to it, in terms of trying to see, because you're going to probably lose some of those issues, but which ones do you?
And you cannot
Go ahead.
ignore a single one of them, because if you ignore the army, then your opponent will score that easily, and so it's a game about threats. So just for example, there are the 7 cards on the table, and 2 are challenging you. So if it's your turn, you can remove 1 card by simply playing the card for values, just to get rid of the event, but then your opponent can play the other card. So it's a kind of threat management, threat build up. And also the specialty about the card system is you have card removal. So some cards disappear after you played the event, but it's also a deck construction game. So that means if you win certain issues, you can add one card to the game, and this card will stay in the game. So, for example, we have politicians. So both Stalin and Trotsky, they have followers. And if you win the Politburo issue, then you can put one of your guys into the deck, and it might be played several times. And same applies to the region. So we have different regions, and there are two versions of that region. One is for Stalin, one is for Trotsky. And so, for example, if Stalin wins the region issue, then he can bring his own version of that region into the deck and remove the other from the game.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I know as I got a chance to play it too, that I could see that level of, there's a lot of depth to there that on the surface you look at it and you think, oh, this is, because it plays fast, right? It's about I think we played it in about 30 minutes, even though it was our first time. So it's a quick playing game. As you describe it, it sounds like it could be like a 3-hour game, but it's not. It's a very quick, fast playing game. And so I think there's just a lot of depth and subtlety to it as we played it. The game consists of the game Stalin versus Trotsky, and so there's that one scenario, if you wish, way to play the game. But I get a sense that the game has a lot of replayability and depth as you go through it. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the game length can be very different, for example, because it can be very fast that Lenin is dying, but it can be also last a very long time. So that's very different. And also due to the deck construction aspect, so in each game, other cards will go into the deck. So the gameplay can be very different, and it's always very challenging.
Right. And one thing I noticed too is that you're not only playing the cards, you're very much playing your opponent's thinking. So you're trying to figure out what your opponent's trying to do while you're trying to do your things. And so it's that you're very much playing the player. It's got kind of, I thought, very much like a chess type like of experience to it. Like, what type of player is this opponent I'm playing against as you're going in there too?
There's a lot of denial in the game also. So you are usually, since you have the same hand, so to say. So you're not only thinking what do I want to play, but also what do I don't want to see here in that game.
Right, yeah. And the thing I liked about it, as soon as we played, we both wanted to play again. It's like it's the kind of game that you finish and you're like, wait a second, next time I think I can do better here. I want to try this element here too. So it has that. Yeah, sure. Could you talk a little bit about some of the design challenges? This feels like to me it was a very unique game as I had a chance to play it and things like that. Could you talk about some of the design challenges you've had in bringing this game forward?
Yeah, so there's one funny aspect because originally when I started that project, I tried to do a card-driven trick-taking game. But so the first prototype was a trick-taking game, but this was a complete catastrophe, and I just threw it into the trash and didn't work on that project for several months. So and then the next version I came up with was, let's say, more or less going into the direction it is today, but all the regions were printed on a map, and you were fighting with cubes for that regions and so on. So the game took a lot of changes until I got to that state where it is now, and also to dense it down to this half hour or 45 minutes. Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. Yeah. And so when you're designing a game, then are you thinking about, a lot of times people think, what can I add? But I get a sense with your designs too. One of the questions you had, what can I take out? Is that kind of to make the game? Is that sometimes the way you approach game design?
Not always. It It depends, but in most cases, I'm coming from the topic that applies also to Lenin's legacy. So, um, so there are several aspects. What do I want to see in the game, and what do I want to model into the game? And then I'm more changing, let's say, the way things can be modeled. So, for example, like I told with the regions, that they then that the map became actually cards, and that we were building the deck. This came after a while, yeah. But usually
Fantastic.
when you're doing game design, you are trying to polish. So you're trying to remove everything that does not harm what you want to show or what you want to actually model. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yes. Um, when I first looked at Lenin's Legacy, it was listed on GMT Games as a two-player game. Now,
Hmm.
a lot of the people that watch the channel are fans of solitaire play. As I was preparing for this interview, I looked on GMT Games, and now I see that there has been a solitaire mode added.
Hmm.
This will be big news for a lot of the channels. And could you talk a little bit about the solitaire mode that's being added? I think that's not, you're not directly involved with it, but a
Yeah.
little bit about what's being added for that.
Yeah, that's one thing I cannot do because I'm not a solo designer. But Jason Carr is doing the solo mode, and didn't play it yet. But I think it's great because it's challenging the players, and you can play both sides also. So you can play as Stalin or as Trotsky, and um, uh, as I heard, this is creating a lot of pressure on the player. Yeah.
Fantastic. I know a lot of viewers of the channel will kind of look at that gaming because
Mm.
sometimes they don't have an opponent. So the idea to be able to play a game like
Mm.
this, solitaire, I think will be appealing to a lot of people. So yeah, thanks for sharing that too. This is a simpler question, but what do you imagine will be? What are going to? Could you talk a little bit about the components? Like what's going to be in the box when people get the game?
Mm. So there will be game board, and there will be 52 unique cards, and some wooden components also for the medals, and some special tokens, and a counter sheet as well. Yeah.
Great. So this too. I think from the way I play, this is going to be a game where you can play in a very small space. It might travel very well too.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Right.
compatible with trains and planes and whatever you want. Yeah.
Yep. Which is always good. Those are always great games to have. So fantastic. Yeah. Um, what are some of the most fun aspects of playing the game?
I think the thing with the hidden card. So this added a lot of tension to the game because this was the last change I did to the design. And so there was a stage where all information were open, and of course people started to calculate, and I wanted to avoid this calculate. So I had to add some uncertainty, and this uncertainty is doing a lot with the game, even if it's a bad card that is hidden to you. But until it's hidden, it's adding a lot. Yeah.
Right. Having played the game, I could definitely feel that. There's a lot of um, good tension, is the way I would say it, as you're playing the
Mm.
game. It feels like a very tight game because a game can swing on a couple of key decisions. And so you're kind of thinking, how can I get the edge here? Oh, I don't want to lose that. So to me, that part of that mind game, if you would, with your opponent, where you're trying to outthink them and trying to use the cards to your best ability. That was a lot of fun to experience as a player. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I can just say from my own personal experience, I really enjoyed playing this game. This was really fun.
There's also a lot of fun. So after a few sessions, you are starting to learn about the game and to see the game from a different angle, because in the base deck there are just 19 cards. So after a while, you will know these 19 cards, and there will be a meta game with that cards because you've seen some of them, and ask yourself, okay, is it still in the draw pile, or is it the hidden card, or this is also an aspect coming into the game if you're learning the game and if you get deeper into the game. Yeah.
For sure. And I just got a chance to play it once at Circle DC, but as I was playing that, I immediately sensed like, oh no, I want to play again. Because now after playing once, I know more. And I still feel like I had a lot to learn, but like you can kind of learn as you're playing into the game. So the game is evolving as you, as the player, develop skill at the game and understand the cards too. That was really fun.
Yeah, just for example, there's one card that's called picture manipulation, and it allows you to play a card. So, for example, if you're Trotsky, to play a card as if you were be Stalin. And also, this is creating a lot of tension and also let's say special moments in the game. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
And having played your earlier game, The Hunt, I feel like that's a common, like every designer has a certain forte, if you would, a strength that they bring to their game design. And your ability to make cards interesting, I think, is something that shows in this game too. And it's something that I sensed in The Hunt is like, you can be playing a game and you start to realize all the possibilities behind just one card. And even though it's a small deck of 50 cards, there's a lot of different ways those cards can be played and combined to make for interesting kind of plays in the middle of the game.
Mm. Yeah, when I'm designing, I often have a phase of debalancing the game because a perfect balanced game is mostly boring. And then I'm trying to debalance also to create that moment so that you have a great effect with one card. Yeah.
Right. Well, I can tell you succeeded in the games that I've played. So thank you for designing these too.
Thanks a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking through the questions that I had hoped to ask you for today, and I think we've covered them all. And I really enjoyed hearing about this game. I think people are going to love it when they get a chance to play it. I can say that from experience, having played the prototype and things like that. I do want to call people's attention to it. Right now, it's on GMT's P500 system. And this morning, as we're doing the interview, it is very, very close to that magic 500 number. So it should reach that number very soon. So I don't want to say congratulations because that jinxes it, but it's looking really, really good. This game is going to be a reality. So, but thank you very much for joining today. If you want to find out more about the game, there's a link down below that goes to GMT's page, and you can read more about this as well. But thank you very much for joining today, Matthias. It's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
It was a great pleasure for me as well. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you, everybody. All right, everybody. Take care. We'll see you on another video.
Bye-bye.